Welcome back to DohMance Dawn. I'm your host, Luke, and unfortunately, Janine is unable to make it on this week. She sends her love. We just had to reschedule a bunch of times, but in order to get the episode out, we are recording. Luckily, we already had a guest on, but Janine has sent me her choices that she has already made for a number of the characters. But yes, once again, I am Luke Hare, he, him, sometimes they, them, and I am joined by someone from the Luke Hare network of podcasts that you might know them through, or she is a Eisner-nominated editor and all around critical media maven. Is that an appropriate word, Kayleigh?
I like Maven. Maven's a good
Okay.
word.
It's one of those words where it's like I don't entirely remember what it means, but I know people use it in certain contexts. Yes, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, yes, I'm Kayleigh Hearn, she, her, and like Luke said, I am an editor for writeaboutcomics.com, and I write a lot of pop culture criticism all over the internet, including looper.com, Shelf Dust, Backs Panel, and yeah, I'm out there.
And importantly for the audience on this podcast, what is your familiarity with Simpsons?
I am a lifelong classic Simpsons fan. I grew up in the 90s during peak classic Simpsons era. I watched it with my dad every Sunday night, which was great because this is when The Simpsons was extremely controversial, especially with my teachers at Catholic school. So this was like when watching The Simpsons was like really edgy if you were a kid.
Which is wild to me because I grew up and my brother had the episode guide that I'd study, and I never understood the controversy. Like South Park, I understood it, but I feel like I had a level of disconnection from the media because I was essentially learning about it from a book.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's amazing because the cultural climate has changed so much in like the 30 plus years The Simpsons aired. Like when in the early 90s when it was super controversial, it was like negatively compared to the Cosby Show and Bill Cosby, and oh how the turntables have turned in a terrifying way, but it's just a fascinating to kind of look at this classic Simpsons episode in context.
It really is especially the writing and how they kind of balance things out in terms of this is what this family is and this is what this is about, and ultimately they love each other, but yeah, it's grotesque in many ways.
Wonderfully so.
hmm uh Abby and I have started doing a weird co-watching of, oh, I am blanking on the name of the TV show about the guy who moves up to Alaska to become a doctor.
Northern Exposure?
Yes, Northern Exposure, and we've also been watching The Great North,
Oh wow.
which, if you haven't seen The Great North, it is not a Bob's Burgers ripoff. It is infinitely stranger and somehow more wholesome and progressive. And it makes me excited to see what the Molyneux sisters are going to do with Deadpool 3.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Yeah, just seeing how the family dynamics change and what we see as appropriate is fascinating, especially because I'm also doing a slow Simpsons rewatch. But Kayleigh, for the other part of the podcast, what is your familiarity with One Piece?
Oh gosh, my familiarity with One Piece is considerably lower. Like I'm in general an anime and manga fan, so I've always like been aware of it and its cultural impact. So like I could identify Luffy on sight
Mhm.
definitely. And I watched a few episodes years and years ago. Not the Four Kids abomination, thankfully.
Mhm.
which I know a little bit about. Um, and I enjoyed it, but like something about the Shonen Jump action series overall style, like the pacing and the filler arcs, whether it's One Piece or Bleach, like my little goldfish brain kind of really can't handle that and stick with a show for 1,000 episodes. Um, which is very funny because I am a huge X-Men fan and have read like 60 years worth of X-Men comics, no problem. But I like try to read Dragon Ball and my brain short circuits.
I get that. I mean, I tried to do a Dragon Ball rewatch at the start of the pandemic, and I kind of dipped out fast because there's a difference between watching it serialized in the afternoons and you can get overwhelmed. I think it was the last vacation that we had before the pandemic when I did a full on read through of all of Dragon Ball Z and all of Hickman's Avengers.
Oh wow.
And yeah, no, I make awful media choices. And are you ready for your awful choice, Kayleigh?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Which X-Men character would you compare to Nami?
Oh wow. Oh gosh. Maybe Kitty Pride?
Interesting.
Kitty, or rather K Pride now. She's kind of got the female pirate thing going on, and um, God, is that all I have?
Just pirate to
They're
pirate.
Yeah, they've got a lot of spunk, I guess you could say,
Hmm.
resilience
Hmm.
in the face of adversity. Very different backstories, though.
Yeah, I kind of thought you might have gone with like an Emma Frost.
Um, I can see that, but also Emma is much more contained
Hmm.
with her machinations and her secret plotting. Like you'd never would see Emma Frost violently stabbing herself and screaming at her archenemy.
Fair. Nami is not a wasp.
No, that too.
Well, all right. So this week on the show, we're going to be covering episodes 31 through 37 of One Piece. At this time, when these episodes ran between July 12th and August 9th in the year 2000, which just my brain is like, well, so this was still pre 9/11. Uh, yeah, there was no contemporary Simpsons. They were doing their summer break.
Ah,
And so we also have like no new Simpsons characters to add this week. So yeah, we are going to just go over the episodes. Episodes including The Most Wicked Man of East Blue, Fishman Pirate Arlong,
the witch of Cocoyashi Village, Arlong's female officer.
Usopp's Death, Luffy Yet to Land,
Reunited, Usopp tells Nami's true story.
The Hidden Past, Female Fighter Bellamere,
Survive, the mother Bellamere and Nami's family.
Luffy Stands Up, End of a Broken Promise. And yeah, we're definitely like following up on the previous arc, which saw Nami steal the Going Merry, the pirate's boat, along with all the treasure that they had on it. And so, as Luffy and Sanji and Johnny, I believe, are heading after, we also have the other boat with Yosaku and Zoro and Usopp on it. And we kind of just get like 4 episodes of shenanigans and like piece setting that doesn't lead to a lot of places. It's entertaining, but it's just kind of very convoluted.
Yeah, it's interesting when the episode title itself is like Luffy is still on the boat question mark.
Hmm.
Because it's also a story arc where the well, while it's an ensemble show, like, the essential main character, Luffy, is, like, really not present in this story arc until the very end of these episodes,
Hmm.
which is an interesting narrative choice.
Well, yeah, we'll get to it because I mean, part of the reason that I wanted to have you on is kind of to discuss the weird choice that they did here. Essentially, what happens though is Arlong is a fishman, part of a former pirate crew who basically just took over a bunch of villages and islands in the chain, and has a military and has a marine connection with him to prevent anyone from stopping him. And he's basically extorting the towns for money in a plotline that still does not make sense. Because if their economy is being fed over to Arlong every month and they can't safely get trades in, how are they continuing to get money?
Good question.
Yeah. Also, Arlong, leader of the Fishman Pirates, is a Fishman supremacist.
Ooh, awkward.
Yeah, they eventually, like 700 no, only 500 episodes later, like, get to an arc explaining that he had previously worked with one of the warlords of the sea, which are one of the three main forces, and it's interesting. But yeah, here it's kind of just like, oh yeah, he's racist, but also here's the personal bad things that he's doing, and yeah, so he has a stranglehold. Nami, we find out, works for him for kind of weirdly defined things because basically he came and forced her to make maps, but also she has the free reign to go and run grifts and steal from other pirates and come and go, which is also just very strange.
Very convenient to the
Hmm.
plot.
Yeah, like there are plot holes that we can poke at here, and I'll be interested to see how the Netflix version is going to handle this. That live action show that there's they put the money into, so I feel like it's got to come out.
Yeah, they certainly released the Cowboy Bebop live action show.
Yeah, yeah. So Zoro gets captured when Usopp abandons him because they see fishmen, pirates. Nami pretends not to know him. He gets locked up. She lets him escape, and then he basically gets out and kills everybody. Like all the fishermen pirates who were left behind, which is a fucking massacre.
Yeah, this was uh a lot more violent than I was expecting, to be honest.
Yeah, like I've watched this arc a lot more times on like the 4 Kids version. And I think this
Oh
is
my
my second
god.
time watching the like Funimation dub, and it's like, yeah, no, he didn't just knock them off. Like they say, oh yeah, no, he did. Some mass murder. I wouldn't quite say that it's genocide because their race was kind of incidental to them all being evil. Yeah, it's weird. Usopp eventually shows up in the village, squares off with Arlong enough to try and cause a distraction because Arlong is ready to literally flip the entire town upside down because Ginzo, who's the mayor, uh, has a sword, and Usopp's like, yeah, no, I'll make a distraction. And he eventually, uh, I forget, does he get captured? It is a mess. But he eventually gets there while Zoro is carried all the way to the village by Hatchan, who is a octopus fish man. So Arlong is looking for Usopp. Usopp gets back to the base when Nami is there, finds out that Nami works for Arlong. She does a fake murder on him to get him out because she doesn't want him to get killed. And because everyone thinks he's dead, he gets out, and we find the full story from Nojiko, who is Nami's adoptive sister. So it turns out that Nami and Nojiko were adopted by Bellamere, who was a Marine who was also sort of a trouble child herself. She joined the Marines to find some direction in her life and ended up saving these two war orphans, brought them back, never had enough money. And so she's running a tangerine grove in a economy that seems to be very tangerine driven.
Yeah, tangerines are basically currency here.
Yes. And so Nami is causing problems. She's stealing because they don't have enough money. She's very aware of their financial situation, as well as Nojiko is. And eventually, Arlong comes to town, and he's demanding 1,000 berry for every man or woman, or every adult, and then 5,000, and then 500 for every child. And the adults in the town, who are also kind of shitty, especially the doctors, like, hey, you kids should run off and escape this island, because if you don't, your adoptive mom is going to have to die for you because she doesn't have enough money. And once again, Arlong's plan does not make a lot of sense, especially for like long-term financial growth. But Bellamere refuses to deny that they are her kids, and they get to see her get murdered.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Ginzo, the mayor, tries to step in, and he gets his entire body pretty much cut the fuck up. And so with the like revelation, they're still kind of waiting for the inciting plot. Arlong knows that Nami almost has enough money to buy the village, which is what she's been doing all the crimes for. This would release the village from having to pay tribute to him. And so he ends up sending his Marine contact, Nizumi, in to basically steal all of her ill-gotten gains. And when she finds out that Arlong is the guy who pressed him to do this, she realizes that, oh, no, she is fucked completely and needs help. And so the rest of the crew has been going around getting backstory, except for Luffy, who's wandering around, and she finally just has a breakdown because she's forcibly like separated herself from the community, from her family. She's thought that she's been harboring this big secret that everybody in the town pretty much knew about, but didn't want her to stress out about. And so she finally is ready to ask Luffy for help. And so we kind of wrap up on Luffy and the gang going to kick some ass. There's probably some details that I forgot, but we'll either get to those in the character sections or anything that you can think of.
I think that's pretty thorough.
Yeah, for a 5-minute description. Yeah, so then let us get into the characters that we've got here, because we have 16 characters to rank. Up first is Nizumi, who is a man who does look like a rat, and he is Arlong's Marine henchman. He is the guy who goes and steals all of Nami's money, and he also has big whiskers like a rat.
And little ears on his cap.
Mm-hmm. Which Marine uniforms in the show are highly inconsistent, but it's great.
Yeah, when Nizumi first showed up, I definitely thought he was some kind of mouse man hybrid, like the fish people. I was like, oh, okay, there's fish people and there's mouse people. And then as the episodes went on, I was like, oh wait, he's probably just a very weird dude.
Yeah, no, he's just a casual furry.
Yeah, he's got the hoodie that's also a cap with
Hmm.
ears. That's on
I
brand.
mean, you could probably rock that at a Disney park and be fine. But yeah, so I had three suggestions for this, and Janine also had three suggestions for Nizumi. What about you, Kayleigh? Let's give you the first cut.
Oh gosh, Nizumi was hard.
Hmm.
'Cause I guess I kept trying to think, okay, what like kind of sort of military or rat-like characters do we have? Um, so I thought maybe Herman, the one-armed s- who I'm not sure is like supposed to be a veteran or just a crazy gun enthusiast, but is like kind of a shady character, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, Herman who runs the antique store. Uh, Herman.
Right.
Okay. Was that the only one that you had?
Yeah, that was the only solid one.
Yeah, I also didn't have a like super great idea. So I had Rat Boy Bart.
Oh my god, yes.
I
Well,
also had Freddie Quimby's lawyer, who looks rather rat-like as well.
oh, I can't believe I forgot Rat Boy Bart. That's too good.
And then the wild idea that I had was Matlock. Just, why not Matlock? When are we going to use Matlock?
Does Matlock actually show up in The Simpsons, or is he just a MacGyver-like figure? Is
No.
he
So the character and the actor who plays Matlock both show up in scenes in The Simpsons.
oh wow, good for Andy Griffith.
Hmm. Uh, Janine also had Rat Boy Bart, uh, Hamster Bart, and the third one was just a remaining test. Uh, I feel like Rat Boy Bart is kind of the way to go.
Yeah, it's very literal, but it works when this guy literally has ears and the mouse whiskers.
Yeah. And I mean, Nozumi is inconsequential outside of this arc. He exists to suck, and he does his job.
Good for him.
Hmm. We then have Arlong, and I do wish Janine were here so she could express shock when I say that my big pick for Arlong is Fat Tony.
That Fat Tony was my number one pick.
Did he have an alternative?
Possibly the Big Daddy from the Simpsons spin-off showcase.
Ah, yes.
Another large, imposing criminal figure who threatens small children.
Yeah. Like, for me, Fat Tony works because this is very much mob style extortion.
Oh yeah.
Janine, meanwhile, submitted The Devil and
Okay.
also Devil Flanders, which I don't necessarily feel as confident about, though I feel like that could have been some hesitancy caused by, like, burning a Fat Tony character here.
Yeah. I was wondering if that was like too obvious a pick.
No, I mean, like, Arlong is a major character. He has repercussions throughout. I think putting him in is fine, and I mean, when we get to the show, when we get to like Simpsons episodes from like 5 or 6 years ago, they introduce Fit Fat Tony, and so that brings a whole bunch of other Fat Tony options. God, modern Simpsons makes choices.
Sure does.
You know about Fit Fat Tony, right?
To my great disappointment, yes. I read that wiki entry.
For our audience who doesn't know, Fat Tony dies, so his look-alike Fit Tony takes over, and then the cost of being a mob boss causes him to gain weight, and he becomes Fat Tony, but he's Fit Fat Tony.
Yeah, people loved the Armin Tamzarian storyline so much. They had to do it again. The people demanded it.
I actually like it, and I mean, when Mad Men does it, it's amazing show writing.
Of course. These are very much the same thing.
Well, I feel like Fat Tony is the way to. Hmm, I'm going to Google Big Daddy again because Big Daddy would kind of ruin a lot of the other vibes. Okay, nope, he is not wearing a Hawaiian shirt like I briefly thought he was. Oh, gosh. My brain is like, ooh, but do you want to use Big Daddy? Or do you want to use Fat? Hmm. I feel like Janine would be disappointed if I made as big of a choice when she was not here to comment on it. So let's go Big Daddy.
Okay, Big Daddy.
Give Big Daddy some energy.
You got that Big Daddy energy here.
Mm-hmm. Also important, Arlong is a saw shark fishman, which means he got a big saw shark nose.
Which is
And
absolutely wild. Every time that thing was on screen, I was like, "Oh my god."
yeah, I hope that they commit to the bit in the live action. They've also got a black guy, or they have a black actor playing Arlong, which is going to be interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then we have one of Arlong's, or the first of Arlong's three sort of leadership. We have Chu, who is a smelt whiting fishman. The main thing that we see him do is shoot like water bubbles really well. Like the whole second half of this arc that we aren't covering here is fights. So, he's ranged guy. I had legs for him.
Yeah, I also had legs or possibly, one of the other 2 bullies, Dolph or Kearney.
Well, let's see what Janine had. Oh, the Blue Devil. I believe that would be from uh, the guy who constantly feeds Homer donuts. Yep, from the Treehouse of Horror, where Homer sells his soul and he is constantly fed donuts.
Oh, wow. Alright.
Which is a deep cut. I feel like Legs kind of has more of the mob vibe that we're looking at here, though.
Yeah, and he appears a lot in Fat Tony episodes, but he's also a very minor character.
Agreed. Like, I I don't want to say I can't see them do a full Legs story arc. They probably could, but
Yeah, they finally did a Carl episode.
the one where he goes to Norway,
Yep.
which, I mean, it's a funny idea that, oh, he's from Norway because his name is Carl Carlson.
Yeah, that's pretty much par for the course for modern day Simpsons.
Yeah, like the last one that I watched that I was really happy with was the Halloween one that wasn't a Treehouse of Horror.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
Like it had the core, it had good bits, it had a song, and it's like, yeah, no, this is what I wish Simpsons would be. But since the majority of them aren't getting these, and instead it's like, oh, Seth Rogen wrote an episode, or here's one where Bart's going to spoil the Avengers. It's like, I'll stick to the Great North.
Yeah, the last modern Simpsons episode I watched was for the gratuitous Alex Hirsch cameo where they meet all the different variations of Loki played by
Mhm.
Tom Hiddleston, and one of them is Bill Cipher.
Yeah.
He
I
tells people to invest in crypto.
I just watched the clip that like Abby and I had done all the Treehouse of Horrors to see if any of them got better. It's like, no, they're pretty much just hitting on the movie beat. At least more of the movies are actual horror films. It is what it is. So our chew is going to be legs. Uh, we then have Kurobi, who is a ray fishman, who I do like how he's got two tiny pigtails at top to look like a manta ray's eyes. Or, yeah, eye stalks.
Yeah, the character designs for these guys are pretty great, I must say.
Ichiro Oda does a great job at like wild background designs and just like throwing things out that most of the people wouldn't use. Like there was this meme I remember years ago where it was like comparing background characters in One Piece, Bleach, and Naruto, and Naruto's just like, yeah, we'll put a different headband on them. And Bleach was like, no, it's all pretty much the same face. And then One Piece is One Piece. I didn't have a great idea. Let's see what Janine had first. Janine had either the Green Demon or that was where I just put butts in to show that the formula would work. So Janine has Green Demon fitting in with her theming. I had the Yakuza boss from the one where Marge gets into the pretzel stand, and at the end there's the big battle between the Yakuza and the Springfield mob.
Oh yeah, that's a good choice.
Yeah, he does not say anything, but it's the, oh yeah, look at that little guy. I bet when he does something, it's going to be really cool or something like that.
And then sadly Homer misses it.
Mm-hmm. What is your thought for Kurobi?
My thought was to go along with Legs, the other mob guy who's with Fat Tony a lot, whose name I can never remember, even though I specifically looked it up for this purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So minor character.
I am opening it up. Yeah, I was very disappointed that Johnny Tightlips had not premiered yet. Would that be Louis?
Yes, Louis.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like Kurobi's style is very much like he's wearing a gi, so sticking with the martial arts idea might be the most fitting.
That's fair. I can roll with that, definitely. Sorry,
All right.
Louis.
Nope, we will find other spots, and I guess it fits if we have a more eclectic group for our fishmen pirates. The last one who I'm going to be interested in is Hatchan, aka Hachi, aka the guy who actually comes back and spoiler alert, like has a full arc where we learn that no, he's literally just a himbo who wandered into this group on accident.
Well, good for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this casting is what broke me. Trying to cast a Simpsons character for the octopus fishman.
Yeah, no, it took me a while, but I've got two suggestions. Um, Janine had giant squid.
Is that the giant squid that the fisherman is trying to kill, and then just says, "Oh, I just wanted the gold in your belly."
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, that was what I had. It's like my closest approximation.
So I've got two, and one of them is very obscure, and the other is going to be a oh. So the very obscure one is Busman, which is a superhero who auto created.
Okay.
And I believe I picked him because Hachi has very stoner vibes to him.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I mean, that's very much Otto, but also this is an Otto who fights zombies and is jacked as hell, which I think could be well represented by 6 arms and a muscle man build, and also that hair.
That
Uh,
Marge
the
Simpson gone crazy hair.
Yes, I am sticking a note into the DM so you can see the picture. The other idea that I had is Kang from Kang and Kodos.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense. He's much
Because,
less sinister than Kang and Kodos, but there is a physical resemblance.
yeah, yeah, this is where the discussion would be good. Because I feel like just leaving it as a giant squid is not quite having the same vibe.
Well, one that just popped in my head as we were talking is the blowfish that almost kills Homer. That's
Interesting.
early in the
Interesting.
series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not technically the blowfish's fault. He's not. He
No,
doesn't necessarily mean any harm, but he's spiky and fishy.
he is an aquatic creature.
He is indeed a
Ooh.
physical threat to our heroes.
Yeah, we're going to see him wielding a bunch of swords in the upcoming episodes. Uh, we have 3 solid ideas. Hmm.
Yeah, this is why he broke me.
Fair. I feel like it's very fair. You know, I think Janine had wanted to use Kang in a previous episode. Let's put Kang in here.
All right,
Let's
good
let's
choice.
let's go actual squid monster. We then have Chavo, who is a kid whose parents got killed by Arlong. He is ready to just get himself killed, and he's just a background kid.
Yeah, it's pretty great though when Nami beats his ass with a big stick in like
Hmm.
the first 10 minutes of this first batch of episodes.
Oh yeah, no, it is wonderful.
It's like, oh, I didn't remember this part of One Piece. It's this kind of show where kids get
Yeah,
constantly wrecked.
I mean, don't step up if you're not ready to fight.
Yeah, I mean, she threw a stack of bills at him. I don't know what else he could have wanted.
Hmm. So I had for Chavo either the Certainly kid or Stickball kid, just background characters.
Yeah, I was thinking Jimbo just for the beanie, but that's also probably too important a character to waste on Chabo.
Well, and Jimbo is our Sanji.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Yes. Maybe one of the Shelbyville kids.
So Janine's suggestion was the Cypress Creek Mill House, which is not quite Shelbyville.
Is that? Oh my God. There's another Millhouse that's not the. This is what it feels like when doves cry. Millhouse.
Uh, yes, there is. I always got that Simpsons wiki open.
It's very important, especially when I'm really bad at remembering episode titles.
That was from You Only Move Twice. Yeah, it's got a different haircut, but not really the hat vibes.
Maybe Malibu Stacy with her new hat.
I mean, new hat Malibu Stacy will be picked up sometime. Certainly, Kid has one of the Jughead crowns.
Oh, yes. There he is. What a champ.
And I feel like that, or I feel like he might be a better choice.
Maybe the original alfalfa that Mo killed.
Oh God. Wait, no. Stickball Kid is even worse. Stickball Kid is even worse. Uh, by which I mean great. And his picture actually comes up as the preview on Twitter.
Oh wow. Yeah, look at this tramp.
That kid wearing suspenders and a baseball hat.
And giant purple shorts with leggings?
I think those are tall socks.
Yeah, that's a look. I do love like a gratuitous, like dead end kids,
Hmm.
80-year-old comedy reference on The Simpsons.
Especially since that would have been said in the 1980s, because that was from Lisa's first word.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to go with Stickball Kid if you are.
That sounds good.
All right. We then have Nojiko, who is Nami's adoptive sister and who is essentially a palette swap of Nami in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Because, if you grow up next to someone, you just take the same traits as them. It's Namisization.
Yeah, and also the artist really likes one particular female body type.
So I was digging into it because he does get to a point where he's like introducing a lot more female body types, and then the scuttlebutt that I heard is his wife, who is a model who is also cosplayed as Nami, is basically like, no, you don't draw body types that I don't have. And that was kind of like the point where all that went out the window.
Oh wow, that's fascinating.
I I do not have a good source of whether or not there's the case, but there's also a good discussion to be had as sort of Ichiro Oda's changing ability at like properly representing female characters, and I think it was Women Write About Comics that had a piece on it that I was thinking about.
Yes, I believe we've run something like that.
Yeah, like there is a lot of good discussion to be had, and it's like one of those things where it's like I'm good that Oda isn't actually on like Twitter or anything because I feel like that would be a shit show that he would quickly fall apart in.
Yeah, that seems like a reasonable bet.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've also been. Have you seen that Twitter thread that's going around where it's uh, the woman who does the campfire authors talking about uh, horror stories? Like it's the woman who runs that has also been doing a thread where she's been going through all of the Sinfest webcomic.
Oh god, yes, I've seen that.
Yeah, and she's basically like tracking the path where it's like, oh, this is where his like internal self-loathing fully takes over, and he just goes hardcore turf and anti-feminist.
Oh boy.
And it's like it is fascinating to watch these sort of transitions. But for Nojiko, I had Tanya, who I done a few of these a while ago. Oh, Tanya was that the Tanya that I was thinking of? Oh yeah, because she has blue hair. Tanya is one of Lisa's background friends who has blue hair. I also had Teen Patty Beauvoir or Bouvier, so one of Marge's sisters, and also Cienega, who is a MTV style host when they go down to Florida.
Oh wow. Deep cuts.
Hmm.
Um yeah, my choices were slightly bigger characters. I had Ruth Powers for Nojiko. Um kind of like as a sort of self-sufficient single woman with a red bow or handkerchief in her hair. Um who does play like a strong supporting role for another female character.
Uh, she got used back in episode one, unfortunately.
Ah, foiled again.
Yes.
My other choice was Aaron, the beach friend Lisa makes in Summer of 4'2", who's voiced by Christina Ricci.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that is very inspired.
Oh, good. Thank God I finally got one. That makes sense.
You are doing very good. This is a bullshit game, Kayleigh. If you make it through, you have succeeded.
Again, the Octopus Man broke me. I have no confidence in any of these.
Oh. So Janine had two suggestions: Jamie Powell and Tattoo Annie. And yeah,
Oh
Jamie's
yeah.
another one of like Lisa's background friends. Tattoo Annie, I feel like would ironically fit better for another character we'll be discussing.
Yeah, I can see why she was picked, though I can't see Nojiko falling for Barney, who
Yeah,
catfishes her.
I really like Aaron as a suggestion. Like that's the kind of vibe that we are looking for. Sort of the supportive older sister.
Yeah, that's what
So
I was thinking.
yeah, I am good with that.
Oh,
Uh yeah, so hell yeah, you got one on the board.
yes.
Actually, uh yeah, no. No, you got two on the board because you also had Big Daddy.
Oh yeah. All right. 2 out of 7. Go team.
Hell yeah. We then have Momu, who is a giant sea cow, which is literally a cow fish hybrid, who appears to steal the food that Sanji made for Luffy and then is forced to pull the ship in. He's also going to reappear because he's set up as this big foreboding force, and no, he just got his ass kicked by Luffy and Sanji.
I love Mumu. Momu.
Momu, yes.
I love Momu.
I had three suggestions. So
Okay.
I had the cow that appears in Natural Born Kissers to watch Homer and Marge doing in the barn.
Oh my God.
I also had Godzilla. I also had Gamera. He's really neat. He is made of turtle meat.
All good choices. Mine was for a smaller type of aquatic mutant. I had Blinky, the three-eyed fish.
Hmm.
Um, or again, possibly the giant squid. Gonna get you, giant squid, one of these days.
We will. So Janine also was with me on the cow. I I kind of still like the idea of Gamera as
Gamera's
kind
pretty
of.
good.
I mean, Gamera's for the children.
Children love Gamera,
Hmm.
just like I love Momu.
Yeah, so I feel like Gamera fits the vibe, and Gamera appears several times in The Simpsons, surprisingly.
Oh,
So we good with Gamera.
yeah, Gamera's great.
All right, we then have Bellamere. And this was the point where Janine did not have additional suggestions, but she has been busy, so that is perfectly fine. And yeah, Bellamere has very queer vibes to her.
That she does. She has an absolutely astounding haircut.
Also wears a lot of flannel shirts.
Yes, an
Also
amazing
joined the
combination.
Marines. Yeah,
Yeah, it's all adding up.
it is. So who did you have for Bellamere?
Another big shot. I went with Mona Simpson,
Ooh.
who is a mother figure who is believed to be dead, and who also had that wild, rebellious '60s protester background.
I that is an interesting piece to chew on. Yeah, interesting. So I had three suggestions. None of them are super great. Uh, there's a female naval officer, great mom, and Miss Mellon. But Janine had suggested Tattoo Annie. Well, Bellamere, as far as we can tell, does not have any of the titular tattoos. I feel like Tattoo Annie also captures a lot of the vibes.
I can see that.
So I'd be willing to use Tattoo Annie here. Because like Mona Simpson is good, but the fact that Bellamere joins the Marines kind of like balances out that sort of anti-government vibe.
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe if Mona wore a flannel shirt that said Mace on it.
All right. Well, I will give Janine credit there for Tattoo Annie. We then have Ginzo, who has a great look for the summer.
Yeah, again, these character designs are just like have me howling. It's because it's just some strange, wonderful genius is like, okay, here's a guy covered in Frankenstein scars all over his body, and his hat has a giant pinwheel on it.
Mm-hmm. And also, he's dressed up like a bellhop in a way.
Right. And what is his job again?
He's kind of like the mayor of the town.
Yeah, but he's like dressed like a cop slash bellhop,
Yeah, it's
a
a
cop hop.
fascinating look. I'd love to see someone do one of those steal this look memes.
Oh God.
Because I mean, I'm a shorts in the summer person, and I feel like I could pull that look off. And I feel like the like structure of the shirt probably pretty slimming.
Yeah.
So for Ginzo, I had two suggestions. The first one was Mutant Skinner, from the one where all of Springfield gets irradiated except for Homer and his family.
Oh wow.
I also had in Skinny Boy, bringing back up Big Daddy, because Skinny Boy is a legally distinct character.
Interesting that you went with Skinner both times.
I feel like the sort of military background, the order, but also the kind of like goofiness.
Yeah, I can see that. Again, I took some huge swings like Flanders for sort
Yes.
of the he's got the mustache, he's you know a sort of fatherly figure to Nami and Nojiko, um sort of that good influence.
Hmm.
But he's a tough character because he's like also like the mayor, but he's definitely not Mayor Quimby, so he's really tough to slot into a particular role.
Agreed. I feel like Mutant Skinner kind of also gets the horrifying aspect that we're looking at, because like he gets cut up when he tries to do the right thing, and then he just spends the next 8 years not doing anything.
Yeah, or maybe he's the Simpsons in the Halloween episode where they get turned inside out.
Oh yeah, because of the gas, though he does not appear in that scene.
Or Groundskeeper Willie, I believe we see turned inside out. I think that was the running theme. That was the episode where he gets killed 18 different times, I think.
Uh,
Another sort of caretakery character who is very ineffectual at saving the people he's coming to save.
so that would have been a Treehouse of Horror 5, and yeah, at the end, yeah, Willie does try. Yeah, so we could have Inside Out Willie. I think that's maybe a bit too horrific.
It is pretty traumatizing, I must say.
Yeah, I remember like catching a repeat of that episode and being like, wow, what a weird dark way to like in that episode back when I would have been like at least 5 or 6. Um I just have like this weird, like you get partial memories of a place that you've been to that stick with you. And it was like we were staying at a Holiday Inn that specifically had a like, oh, kids eat free once a day, and it was like, oh, let's pretend to be uh, always getting our free kids meal. And just part of that memory is watching this episode and being like, weird. I'm afraid.
Yeah, as a 90s kid, I really have a soft spot for the early Treehouse of Horror episodes that were like genuinely scary, where
Hmm.
they actually had like Marge come out and warn the audience that that these episodes would be super creepy. So, yeah, I understand why Inside Out Willie might be too much.
So are you good with Mutant Skinner then?
Sure. I like these wild deep cuts. Well, I'm just like super basic, like, Flanders?
Uh, I mean, like I said, it is a challenge at times. We then have Nako, who's the military doctor who has a Hulk Hogan mustache and a goatee. Like, he is very much what if Hulk Hogan had not wrecked his body with years of steroids
One can only imagine.
and also tanning. Yeah, so for him, I had military doctor and Bob's aide.
Bob's Aid.
I believe that was a point where it's just like, I need some fucked up looking people. So let's go into like early season stuff.
Oh, yeah. When everyone's off model and discolored.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Who did you have?
double dipping my picks. This was another character who reminded me of Herman for sort of the military connection
Hmm.
and the sort of odd facial hair.
Yeah, I sent you the link to Bob's aide. Military doctor was literally just a very on the nose thing.
Oh my god. I really appreciate these deep cuts. Like, as a diehard Simpsons fan, you're throwing me for a loop and it's beautiful.
That's the other part of the show. It's like you can't just skim the surface. You have to go weird and deep.
Yeah. Maybe weird season 1 Herman, but yeah, another very random obscure character definitely.
I don't think he really. I don't think Nako really appears after, and he's far less important. I'd feel like using Bob's aid here, mostly for the glasses, and both of them wear a hat, is probably fine.
Go for it.
Like, eventually, I will come to the point where it's like, oh no, this is where we should use Herman, because I don't believe he has been picked.
Yeah, sadly I'm on an arc where most of the new characters are jabronis.
All right. So we then get into our quartet of weird ass fish people who have like a line or two and great designs, but not much else. Up first is Kanashiro, a goldfish fishman.
Again, maybe the blowfish?
uh, this was where, because the fishmen look weird, this was where I started just going full in on like, where can I find weird looking people who get the vibe? And the answer to that was season one Simpsons.
That makes a lot of sense.
So I'm going to pick up some of these and send you images. So the first suggestion that I had was the ticket bouncer from Bart's Nightmare, where he has to solve the train problem in Bart the Genius.
Okay.
Like, just especially the way that it's framed, it's very weird. Springfield Nuclear Power Plant employee is the suggestion for the second one, who also just has a beautiful season one Simpsons visage.
Very dramatic angle on his wiki page. That's arty. They're like, we're gonna do Fellini here for this scene.
I forget what specific person they're referencing for it. Um, and then the last one that I had is Player One from the fighting game. And this sort of has the coloration, the build, and the general demeanor that I feel like we're looking for.
All right, yeah.
So you're feeling Player One from Super Slugfest?
I can see that.
I feel like that was the one that I stumbled onto last and was like, yeah, no, this one is good. We then have Pissarro, who is a ocean sunfish fishman, and for him I had Black Smithers, the famous
Oh dear.
miscolored Smithers.
Oh no.
And the other one that I had is Phil, the newsman, who appears in the Call of the Wild. This wiki has him as Phil Reporter.
His legal name.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Who actually has his first appearance in the Ullman shorts, and then later appears in Call of the Simpsons, which is where I saw him was like, oh, yeah, no, that's appropriately fucked up. Who did you have for Pissarro?
Pizarro, he's got major clown vibes. He's got the big ruffled collar and the stars, and he's wielding
Maracas?
maracas with giant stars on them. So I was thinking like one of the background players on the Krusty the Clown show that like look like there's one shot where he brings out like Sideshow Mel and Corporal Punishment, and there's a dorky looking clown doctor with like pink and swirly hair, just like one of those background clowns that it's not Sideshow Mel, not Sideshow Bob, um just like a weird distaff clown, maybe also one of the students at Krusty's Clown College,
Uh,
generic knockoff Krusty.
so, yes, I see the clown doctor.
Sideshow
I'm
Luke
not.
Perry, perhaps.
The clown doctor on Simpsons Wiki, which is different. Uh, I really like Clown Doctor.
Okay.
Like, that is a good poll.
I finally dug deep. Got a good one.
I mean, that's what the game is. Like, the fact that these fishermen have names is the main reason they are being discussed. We then have Shioyaki, who is a salmon fishman who kind of has Dolph Lundgren vibe. No, not Dolph Lundgren, but like 80s action man who's now like aged an extra 10 years.
Right.
And the suggestions I had for him were Mr. Gamble, Player 2 from the fighting game, and Howard the Florist. Who did you have?
Steven Seagal. Was he ever on The Simpsons?
I don't believe he has been, wildly enough. Let's see.
Just the faded action star vibes with the bags under the eyes and like the dark mullet.
Uh, I just remembered why I suggested Mr. Gamble and another like early Simpsons cut. He got the hair.
All right.
I just sent you the link.
Yes, thank you. Oh God. Yeah,
Like,
season
that's
season 1 Simpsons characters are just a whole different breed.
they really are, and I am so grateful for them right now.
No, they're saving our asses here.
You good with Mr. Gamble?
Sure.
All right. Last, we have Take, who is a carp fish man.
Played by Steve
Last,
Buscemi.
I mean, Sanji is Steve Buscemi, but yeah, also just Buscemi. This is like a less flattering rendering of Steve Buscemi. Did you have anyone for Take?
Oh gosh, who was I thinking for him? Again, I was distracted by the resemblance to Steve Buscemi. Clouded
I
my
mean,
vision.
unfortunately, Steve Buscemi doesn't appear for another few seasons.
Oh my God.
So the three that I had are are a character just named Cashier, Al Simmons, and then the district attorney. Cashier is the person who Homer pawns his TV to, so they can go and get therapy.
Yeah, I'm seeing his pick now. The teeth are very on point.
Also, that haircut.
Yes.
So, did you have a suggestion for Take?
I just had one and it flew out of my brain.
No worries. We are just working to get through this now. Last up, we have Pudding Pudding,
God.
who is a member of the Marines who comes to try and take Arlong down, and his shit immediately gets wrecked.
Right.
And he is also based on Purin Purin, who is a like Japanese fantasy character. So he's got her hair. And
Absolutely wild.
it was something that his Oda's sister watched, and he was just like, "Yeah, no, I'm going to put this in. That'll be hilarious."
Yeah, and this is another throwaway character, right?
Oh no, yeah, he's fucking dead after this.
Yeah, and again, this is where I really, as a general newbie to the world of One Piece, I just really got to shout out these absolutely insane character designs for random jabronis who instantly get wrecked.
Yep.
That is a dedication to craft that you do not see often. So I really have to, lay down in praise of Pudding Pudding.
Did you have anything down for Pudding Pudding?
Pudding Pudding, I had Sideshow Luke Perry.
Ooh.
Like he has, again, sort of Krusty the Clownish, colorful, jutting out in 3 different points hair, but again, I knew Krusty was too big. I knew this time. I couldn't go big. But Sideshow Luke Perry also gets instantly wrecked.
He
Gets fired out of
does.
a cannon and just gets super fucked up.
Uh, you know, I can. My mind is just going to when I eventually get Devin on the show, and he's like, "Can I use Sideshow Luke Perry?" And I'll say, "No, Kayleigh took it from you."
Oh yes.
But no, you have something much better than my suggestion, which was Principal Valiant,
Wow.
who another very deep cut.
Again,
But
yeah,
no, Sideshow Perry, you made the argument.
well, this podcast has truly humbled me.
You have risen to the challenge
Oh God, I
of
hope so.
this bullshit show. I mean, you got you got 4 of them all on your own out of the 16 we had here, and we both agreed on a few of the others. So you have served admirably, Kayleigh.
Oh, good. I hope I do not get wrecked by sawtooth-nosed pirates. Like poor Pudding Pudding, R.I.P.
R.I.P. Morning till I join you.
He was a real
Oh,
one.
yes. All right. Well, that kind of gets us to the end of the mashing that we needed. So, Kayleigh, do you have the desire in you to finish this arc?
Actually, yes. Um, I wasn't sure because again, the pacing of I binge watched this group of episodes, so I saw them all at once. So again, the pacing of a lot of these Shonen Jump shows really are not for me. But it's actually a pretty Nami's story is very engrossing, which
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised by, like because it's actually very emotionally intense. With despite these completely ridiculous characters like Pudding. Um, so when the final episode that I saw ended on that big cliffhanger where finally like some asses are gonna get kicked, and I knew that was the last episode I had to watch. I was like, oh fuck. Uh, so I'm curious to see how this turns out for the Straw Hat Pirates and Nami.
So there is something that is out there that is called the episode of Nami that I don't know if this one made it to Netflix, but it's essentially yeah, we're going to condense all of this down to a movie.
All right, okay.
And like they do updated animation for it and everything. I don't know how much different that is, but yeah, that is also an option. Yeah, I'd be interested to see if you continue on the cruise past that point. But yeah, Nami, they do a great job of kind of putting her into a bad situation where uh, she stuck with a plan for 8 years that she came up with as a child, and everything falls apart.
Yeah. And my husband is actually a huge One Piece fan, so he was really excited when I said I was going to do this podcast. He was like, "Finally, I know geek shit that you don't know." And so he was always like, "Need this explained? You need this explained? You need this explained?" And I was like, No, no." So I broke his heart a little bit, but he loves One Piece, so I could share that with him a little bit now. So that's nice.
That is, and I mean, I understand that. I now just wait for Abby to ask me what she wants explained.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm annoying as hell whenever we talk about anything related to X-Men, so I totally understand my husband really wanting to get this one over on me. He deserves it.
Abby is very much into hockey, and it's like I don't understand this, but let me tell you why it's hilarious. Who they cast as the Emperor in Dune 2.
Oh, that is fun.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you for joining us on this journey. Kayleigh, where can people find you online?
People can find me online at Twitter at Ronch, which is spelled Ronch, and sounds filthier when you say it out loud, which I did not realize when I made that handle. And you can find my writing at Women Write About Comics and Looper.com and lots of other places.
Awesome. Well, Janine, my co-host, can be found on the My Favorite Pokemon podcast when that is up. You can also find her on Twitter at Janine Juliet. And you can find me on Twitter at Coltreg, that's KOLTREG, or at Lukeher, LUKEHERR.com. Also, when this goes up, I will be at Space in Columbus, which is a indie comic show. So if you're somehow in the audience and weren't already planning on seeing me there, you can find me at least on Saturday until I figure out how much of a convention I can handle post pandemic. DohMance Dawn updates every other week. The majority of, all our covers at this point have been done by Colt Hoskins, who you can find on Twitter. And we aim to have a new episode every 2 weeks. We'll be back in 2 more weeks as we finish up the Fishman arc. And yeah, find us at DohManceDon.com or on Twitter at DohMance, DohMance. Kayleigh, thank you for filling in as both guest and co host for this episode.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was absolutely wild.
It was. Thank you for being on the cruise. Safe sailing.
Ahoy.